Hello, everyone. I'd like to call to order the City of Escalon Planning Commission meeting of August 15th, 2023. Can we have a call to order, please? Oh, sorry, wrong order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. It's been a while.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we'll have a roll call.
Commission Chair Sarkozy.
Here?
Commission Vice Chair Castellanos.
Here.
Commissioner Willis.
Here.
Commissioner Dunbar.
Here.
Commissioner Van Dyke.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Note all cell phones, pagers, and similar devices need to be set to silent or vibrate mode or turned off unless you are an on-duty emergency responder. And the first order of business is the consent calendar for the meeting minutes of June 13th, 2023. Any comments?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the June 13th meeting.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passed 5-0. Let's see, item number 2, application 23784, conditional use permit and variance for 1955 Melissa Court, Escalon, California, 95320, APN 227-670-250-000. And due to my proximity of the property, I will recuse myself.
Surprise. I guess I'll move forward. Do I have a staff report?
We'll just give it 1 second here.
Maybe he's going to run third year in a row.
Say it again.
Maybe he'll run a third time.
Oh.
Okay, good evening, acting chair, vice chair, and members of the commission. My name is Jalen French, the new Development and Community Services Manager with the city, and I'll be providing the staff report tonight. As you see, hopefully on your screens, and as was read, maybe, yes. The item before you from the applicant is to seek approval of a conditional use permit and a variance. The conditional, well, maybe I'll just speak to so we have it on the slide. The property is located at 1955 Melissa Court, as is shown on your screen. So the conditional use permit would allow an existing recreational vehicle covered parking structure or carport, which exceeds 450 square feet. So per the code, anything over a temporary structure over 450 square feet in a residential zone would require a conditional use permit. The variance would allow deviations to the current development standards, most notably setbacks within 3 feet of an existing structure on the site and 3 feet of the neighboring fence, both in the side and in the back. The current structure is a little less than 2 feet from existing structures on site and less than 1 foot from the adjacent fence. So in 2020, the Escalon Municipal Code was amended to add section 195B, as shown on your screen, in regards to temporary structures, really to address the former code section, still current code section, regarding accessory buildings, to address the more temporary nature of uses that had been seen, like carports. So the code addresses when permits are required, how they comply with setbacks, addressing California Building Code, aesthetics, height, all of that. This section in 2020 sought to provide more flexibility, again, for these temporary structures. In each, so real quick, so before that, findings are required for both the conditional use permit and for the variance, and those findings are in your staff report and can be found there. But they should be referenced in the motion, whichever way the Planning Commission chooses to move forward with this item. We will mention that our building official has conditioned the project, it's not a slide, has conditioned the project in such a way to address the California Building Code. So the 3 foot is really a California Building Code issue, 3 foot from an existing structure and from the neighboring fence. So if approved, this item would carry a condition that states the property owner would need to install a 1-hour fire-rated wall to act as that 3-foot buffer from the property. So it would be required to install a 1-hour fire-rated wall on the western edge of the existing structure, the carport structure. I just want to mention that before we get into the vote. Pardon us here. Monitor our online capabilities here. So we do want also the commission to be aware that we did receive 1 public comment via email. The resident who is listed on the email, which is in front of you as well, was not able to attend the meeting but wanted to provide their comment via email. And so that was provided to the commission for your reference. So that's the end of the presentation, and we would be happy, I would be happy to answer any questions that the commission or the public may have on this item.
Before we go there, can I ask a question? Is there anybody online?
We do,
It does look like we have 1 caller on.
Okay, but I just want to make sure that.
and it might be Mike.
Hello, this is Mike Brinkman, contract billing
Building
official.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure if we had somebody online, we give them an opportunity to respond when that came up.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We did invite our chief building official on to answer any questions that the commission may have in regards to building code or other issues.
Any comments from staff? From the commission?
I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. The paragraph on the first page says that a conditional use permit and variance are being sought to install an 800 square foot metal carport. And the very next page says they want to maintain an 800 square foot metal carport. It is in place.
It is in place
Yeah,
currently.
there's photos at the back. It's in place.
Any other questions for staff?
There wasn't a schematic or something provided for the structure.
There is. There was one in the staff report.
What page is that on?
Yeah, I didn't see it.
What's that?
What page is it on?
What page is it on? It's Exhibit B. And I'm not sure if you remember, it's on the screen now.
C?
Oh, just a layout, okay.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah, it's just a overhead. Is the applicant the property owner?
And they are here today.
So the way I look at the plot plan is, as the structure is drawn in, it shows that the back corner of the house is 4 feet from the structure.
Side of the page.
No, we're going this one first. So who drew that portion of the plot plan?
The first plot plan was provided as part of the application for the conditional use permit and the
Okay.
variance. That was provided by the applicant.
Okay, because the dimensions look a little different when you look at the one that's highlighted in red with the setback information on the points of reference.
Correct, and it's a normal part of staff's due diligence on items such as this.
Okay, I
We-
just wanted to
we
understand what I
verify.
was looking at there.
Yep, correct.
Any other questions?
How long is the motor home that's going to be sitting in there?
46 foot.
So it takes up almost the entire length?
We'll open it up to public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For that part of it.
I'm sorry.
Okay. No other questions for staff?
Not this time.
Okay, so I'll open up the public hearing for the applicants that are in favor of it and people that are not in favor of it. Please step forward, state your name.
If you want to.
If you want to talk, step forward, now's your opportunity. Or we may want to ask questions.
Yeah, you can ask, yeah. My name is Daniel Coe. I'm the owner of 1955 Wilson Court, and I'm the one that's applying for this temporary use permit for my motorhome, or my toy hauler cover.
Okay.
But yes, like you asked, Mike, it's 46 foot. It's a fifth wheel. And so, yeah, that's, the reason it's so large is that's the size of the trailer. There's nothing else in there besides that.
How is it anchored down?
Concrete anchors.
Any other questions, Ron?
Just on that topic, if approved, a building permit will be required. So we will verify those types of
Constructability?
elements of the structure.
I have a question. Looking at the picture with the fifth wheel in there, how do the neighbors feel about having this right up against their windows?
I asked my neighbor to the left side of me, Peter, when I did it, and I asked him, and he said, it's your yard, do what you please, and that's why I figured he was the one that's most affected by it, would be the one that I share the side yard with. And I asked him, and he said he doesn't, I told him I'm not attaching it to any fences, any of his property line or anything like that. And told him, I mean, and it's not fully walled or anything, so that's why I thought it was okay. I came down just to fence height, so there is no, it's not a full structured wall all the way around. And so yeah, that's the only one that I asked was Peter, really, because he was the only one I thought it affected, but I don't really. I bought the house about a year ago and moved from Judith Way over to there, bought the house for the RV access pretty much, and having like in Escalon, it's kind of hard to find RV access homes. So the gentleman that I bought it from had a trailer pretty much like that. A little bit smaller, but didn't ever put a cover up over it, and he was a good friend of the neighbor that I'm speaking of, and he said he had no problem with it. And I figured they were kind of used to having an RV in there, and I didn't know putting a cover over it would change that as much. So this is all kind of new to me. I honestly purchased the home for that reason, was to have RV access in Escalon. I mean, that's part of the nice about it. So,
Why are you seeking the variance now rather than when you built it?
I didn't know that you had to have any code, so when I talked about maybe putting one attached to the house, but then looked into that, and that was when I figured there's a lot of permitting with that, and I figured this, I didn't know, I've seen them all around town here, and I've talked to Ed Alves' son-in-law over there on Brennan, and he said that they don't really have permits for those types of things, and I didn't know at the time when I did it, but now looking at what I have there in my lot is not perfectly square, and so getting 3 foot all the way around would give me about nothing of a side yard if that's what it was. So that's why I'm asking for variances, because of how my lot is angled and not perfectly square. So yes, in the rear, there is on one corner more than the 3 foot. As it comes down to the corner, no, because it's a little bit different of a lot structure. So to get, to be able to use the RV access, you kind of have to angle it in there a little bit differently. So that's why I'm applying for variances with it on the temporary use permit.
There's a door into the garage, I assume, and
Yes,
you
in
have,
front of it.
you can get in and out?
Yes, in front of the door, and then from the fence, see, that's what I'm talking about on the rear right there. That's more, see, it goes toward the fence like that, but that's just the angle of the lot. So yes, the door up front is in front of the structure. When you open the door, you walk out, the structure would be on your right side. From the structure to the fence, you have more than 7, 8 feet, and then from the structure to the front eve of the house is probably 15 feet or more. So it sits back, because I know what I've read now is they don't want it protruding into the front of the home and that, so I thought I would be okay there, and with Peter being okay with it, that's why see from that eve all the way back, you can hardly see it until you pull into the cords. So it just runs at an angle back there, and that's from the door being right here in front, from where the first pole is, it runs back and opens up to probably, I haven't put a tape on it, but probably more than 12 foot at most, maybe 15 foot. So it's just the way, yes, it's tighter in some of the corners, but not the entire unit or structure.
And the code says no cloth coverings on the sides, or unless they're came with the manufacturer.
There's none of
but
that.
There's a picture of one.
Yeah, I thought it was the front. That's a shade cover, but that's not, and that rolls up out of the way, and that was with it.
With the shelter.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's bolted through the structure top and everything, so that's why it's kind of more of and it's a support beam that goes across. All that does is rolls down in front of the trailer to keep the sun off of the nose, to keep it nice.
So when you bought the house, there was an existing structure there?
No. The gentleman that owned the house before had a similar sized trailer that he put in there, but
Okay.
from what I understand, he moves quite a bit with his job and never put any cover over it.
You have room to get the 3 feet or 5 feet from the property line?
On
If you were to
Peter's
break
side,
it
no.
up.
The rear, if you had to have it on each corner, 5 feet, was it 3 foot or 5 foot?
3 feet.
It's 3 foot, yeah, 3 foot.
Okay, so on Peter's side, no, I don't, because I'm on the concrete slab, there's, a rock path and then the fence. So on his side, no. On my house side, yes, there's more than 3 foot. The rear, there's more than 3 foot in most part of it. So the only part is the side that we talked about, that he mentioned to me that we maybe knew a firewall or something, and I'm totally okay with whatever that is, however we gotta do it to put that in. I am totally okay with paying for that and putting that in to keep that if that's something that we have to do. The structure's bad. I didn't know you had to have a fire break for that. This is all new to me, so
Did you check into RV storage in Escalon and other neighboring communities?
No, I purchased a home with RV access. I thought I could do that, but no, I did not look into that. We have shops at where I work at, and I could keep it there, but my wife likes to keep it on the side of the house to load it up and have it at her home.
This has been a dilemma for the community. There's been many of these structures put up. I commend you to come in front of us to do the proper steps.
Yep.
I wish that you would have seek guidance prior to doing anything. But, you know, what you were told, obviously now you understand it was.
No, I'm understanding a lot now.
Not correct.
Yes.
Not correct.
Yes.
And, you know, aesthetically, you know, we're trying to keep the community looking appealing. When I drove into the court, that thing kind of jumped out at me. It's pretty big. So, I mean, so we have setback requirements, we have a height requirement that's exceeding,
What is the height requirement?
I think it's 15 feet.
15 feet.
Yeah,
The problem with that is the unit, to get it into anything like that, would have to be even more than that going into
Yeah.
that. So so if you can't have any trailer that big on the side of your home, if it's over 15 foot, you can't put a structure over it? 'Cause the tip of the air conditioner going into that driveway, the reason it is the height it is because of the angle going up into the RV access.
well,
A trailer is extremely mobile, where this is anchored to the
Yeah.
concrete, so it can kind of come and go. That's why it's not a.
I was just saying to go inside
requirement. Yeah,
the deal.
yeah. I'm sure you have to climb your driveway and get
Yeah.
in. So I understand where you're going. I mean, it's like he mentioned, it's unfortunate that we didn't start with the code. Have you talked to your neighbors at the rear that have this monster?
I don't know the neighbors at the rear, no.
That the avenue of the permit process notifies everybody and gives everybody a chance.
Yeah.
And that's the benefit of it, is that they can come in and talk about it in advance. Maybe you guys can talk through it a little bit more. Maybe you could have gotten exactly the size of your trailer versus the 50-foot, you said is 46?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's tip
But
to
it's
tip.
that'll give you your 4 foot on the back side if you had shrunk it down. That's the only thing that I'm notating there.
when you gave your presentation, you put some sort of a revised code up. I can't find it in the staff report. There you go.
It is in the staff report to page 3. And the reference there is,
Temporary structure, okay.
yeah, there was code that dealt with more permanent structures, accessory buildings. It had more generous development standards, wider setbacks. The temporary structure code was added in 2020 to address the more temporary type structures like carports. So that was the point of that, to share that newer code.
Okay, so this would not be considered a temporary structure?
It is considered a temporary
No, it is not, because I'm reading definition B3. Structures must be independent and may not be attached to the dwelling or other structure. Okay, so it's attached to the concrete.
It's supposed to be. This structure that we were referring to at 1955, Melissa, is not attached to any other structure. It's not attached to the home or a
Okay.
fence or.
But it's not, but it's attached to the land is not,
The structure has
No.
to be the property, vertical.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
nothing flat.
Yep.
Okay.
And it actually specifies that it does, I think, to secure structure to the ground in accordance with the California Building Code. So there's not a wind
Okay.
occurrence or something that could blow it over.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak either in favor or against the applicant? Please state your name.
Ashley Walker. I live directly behind the applicant with the structure. I kind of typed up a whole letter because I'm not good with public speaking. So I'm just going to read from that and then maybe address some points afterwards, if that's okay. I'd like to begin by stating that I am mortified that I have to speak out and complain against my neighbor. I feel that this is going to ruin the relationship we have, as well as completely pit neighbor against neighbor, thus ruining the status quo of our neighborhood, because we do have a really great neighborhood. It's extremely disheartening that this structure that does not comply with the city code was installed with complete disregard to all of the surrounding neighbors. I know he said that he had talked to one of the neighbors, but it isn't just one neighbor that it does affect. The structure sits nearly touching my back fence, only about 2 inches away on one of the corners. It's about 5 inches away from the fence of the neighbor to the right of the structure, who also shares a fence line with ours. It's nearly the same height as the 2-story homes in our neighborhood. The metal siding resembles those of a large industrial building or warehouse, thus making the structure a massive eyesore. We have to actually view this eyesore from every angle of our downstairs living area. We see it from our kitchen, we see it from our living room, we see it from my son's bedroom window, and it actually shades half of our back patio. That's how massive it is. I feel like the pictures that we have don't even do it justice, honestly. One thing that drew us to this particular lot that we currently live in was this huge backyard. And we actually we bought a brand new home, so we had to do the entire landscaping of this backyard. And when we did that, we took city code into consideration. We understand the importance of these codes and that they're meant to protect the property values and also make sure that you're being neighborly and you're taking your neighbors into consideration. Ultimately, part of this letter was, it started to get actually kind of bitter because I've been really upset about this for a long time, only because no one approached us about it. Not that I feel like that would have made a huge difference, because I feel like we would have said, no, we're not okay with that. And I don't know if he would have taken that in consideration or not. So I'm just going to skip over some of the parts. But the one thing that has me baffled most about this process and this meeting is that the notice we received stated that our neighbors are requesting to install an 800 square foot carport structure. And that's pretty confusing given it's not a request to install. It's already been installed. It's been installed for, I think, 5 to 6 months already. I was really hoping it would be taken care of before the summertime because we spend a lot of time in our backyard. We have 4 kids. We bought our house for the huge yard. We are constantly in our backyard. We walk out our back door, and that's where like our entertaining area is, and that's what we get to look at now, and it almost encloses the space. I would just like to conclude by stating this is not my nature. I'm not confrontational. I really do not like doing things like this. But I feel like it needed to be done. I needed to say something about it because it wasn't a neighborly thing to do. We live in a neighborhood. We don't live in the country. I feel like something like that, belongs out there. We are not the only house that it affects. Other neighbors have said things to us without us even saying things to them. And I just, I really hope that you guys consider what we have to look at. There's other points that I have not just the eyesore, but also the safety issue. It happens all the time where you go to push your gas instead of your brake. And if he's reversing that and something happens and that topples down into my yard, because it is inches away and heaven forbid my kids be outside, that is a concern for me as well. But yes, thank you guys for your time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good job, Ashley.
Anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak? Please state your name.
Name's Matt Simone. I share my fence line with the Walkers here, with Drew and Ashley, behind the gentleman here, and I also want to start off by saying it's nothing against you, and I feel like it's kind of like I want to, like what Ashley said, is it sucks that we have to do this, because of the neighborly thing. I just want to talk about it. First off, it's an eyesore, 100%. You guys have seen the pictures. It's like 20-something feet tall, right in our backyard, and that alone, the aesthetics, right? There's reasons for setbacks and for zoning and things like that. The aesthetics of it is horrible. I mean, the resale value of our homes can 100% be negatively affected by that. 100%. Someone could walk in the backyard and see that and just be like, you know what, no thanks. I have a couple things on my phone, so I'm not just looking down on my phone. I just have some things on here that I kind of want to go over. I don't want to take too much time.
Sure.
But so reasons for setbacks, right? Near a fence. There's the safety reasons. And for me, for my family and my home, and also the Walkers, these points either affect mine or their or both of our homes. So the safety of the home, the distance between structured property lines, reducing the risk of fire spreading between buildings. As you said, that they need to build a firewall. So now instead of this structure, we're gonna have a huge 20-foot wall. Is that, I'm not sure. That's gonna be even worse, Then there's also ventilation and light. Setback prevent overcrowding, maintain proper airflow and sunlight, which contributes to healthier living conditions and energy efficiency, right? You have privacy doesn't really get affected by this, but visual aesthetics, 100%. Reducing noise and vibration. Can you imagine what that same thing will sound like during the winter and the storms that we have here? The vibrations and noise between the neighboring properties. Maintenance access. If the fence is rotting back there, I'm not sure if you saw the pictures, but how close the structure is to the back fence is crazy. It's literally inches, And actually one of the things is avoiding disputes. You have to get these things permitted. That's why the setbacks are there. And then it avoids things like this, because like you said, you can go and have the comments from the neighbors and things, and instead of having a dispute and maybe thinking, oh, how could they do that? It's already out in the open. And then there's preserving green spaces. They wanted to put a garden in their backyard. I'm telling you right now, they couldn't do it because, like you said, it shades half their patio. Infrastructure, like space for drainage, Where's that gonna drain on these storms when it's right up against the back fence? It's not gonna be in their yard, So setback regulations are for safe, functional, and aesthetically pleasing environment. And I think that the carport doesn't allow for that. There's a ton of reasons right there. Now going on to the thing that we got here. This says that they're requesting the approval of the conditional use permit and variance, and it's the class 32 categorical exemption under section 15332 infill development projects. Now, if you're familiar with what an infill development project is, it's not so a neighbor can put in a carport. It's for like unused, undeveloped land, like military bases or railroad places, so they can put housing in there. So they can use that land for better use. It's not for a carport. So the whole reason in this, it's not valid. And then with the variance as well, if you look at the variance, the way you get that is that it would cause like undue hardship, I believe the words are. Not having a carport is not undue hardship. And it also says that it cannot negatively affect neighboring properties. So with the variance, it's obvious, it's, doesn't work for the variance. It doesn't work for the infill development. And the fact that it wasn't permitted before it was built is a clear violation of city regulations. And that in itself, it should be denied because of that. Because that sets a precedent, if it's allowed to go, it sets a precedent that, hey, I'll just build it, and if someone complains, then I'll go and talk about it, and they'll let it go anyways, even if it negatively affects somebody. And so, being a resident of Escalon, I love the city, and I hate to see that become a precedent here. Just build it, and maybe they'll let it get through, And it's like you said, there's these carports kind of all over the place, and it doesn't look great. So, that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience who'd like to speak? Anybody online that would like to speak against or for the project? Close a public hearing, bring it back to commission for discussion.
I think I have a question of staff. How thick is a 1-hour fire-rated wall?
That is a perfect question for Mike, who is on the line.
Thick, it has to be designed, usually they're about a minimum of 6 inches thick.
Okay, thank you.
And Mike, per one of the public comments, can you shine a little light on what that 1-hour fire-rated wall would look like within the structure?
That would be difficult because it has to be designed, since this is not conventional construction, it's not wood and drywall or stuff go, it's a metal structure. An architect or an engineer would have to design a rated 1-hour wall, and how they would design it, it would be up to them as far as attaching it to the metal structure. So, yeah, that's something I couldn't answer. There's many different ways to do it.
How high would it have to be?
Well, I think that's the question for those who know, and I don't very well know what a fire-rated wall looks like. Is it a standalone structure, or is it something that's built into the structure itself that we're referring to?
Normally, it's built into the structure. It's not a standalone wall.
It would have to be designed, but it would probably be built into the structure somehow. So
Well,
it would slow, if the structure caught fire, it would slow the ability for that fire to spread. So if you think of sheetrock, you can have fire-rated sheetrock. It's thicker, it's made of a different material, so it slows the process of a
So
fire.
will it go the total height of the structure?
It goes along the wall, based on his notes and his email, it goes along the wall that's against the neighboring property. So it would sound like it would be 2 walls.
And Mike, jump in if you can, but so right now, the roof has metal all the way, a couple feet down, 3 feet down, let's say. So there would be a process to cut that metal and put a fire-rated wall in that area where the metal is now.
Yeah, that's another, there's different ways to do that. You can continue the 1-hour rating over the roof line, or you can go 3 feet above the roof, or wherever the roof touches the wall, the height of the wall, 3 feet above that, they call it a parapet. Like I said, there's many different options or ways to do it.
Any other questions for staff? Commission, any discussions or?
I guess my question for staff is, if this were to be denied, what would be the requirements after that?
So if denied, we'd have to go through a code enforcement effort. Now, first step, recourse from the applicant would be an appeal. So any action by the planning commission can be appealed to the city council within 10 days. If the applicant, if it was denied, if the applicant appealed, if they submitted an application within 10 days, then it'd be heard by the city council, excuse me. Then depending on what the city council determined, we would take the appropriate action. If the city council approved the appeal, overturned the commission's action, then it could remain with a building permit. If they upheld the commission's decision and the applicant didn't want to take it down, then we would get into a code enforcement action.
Any other discussion?
Now, I should say it could be modified as well, right? And maybe there isn't room, which was asked earlier, but it could be modified to meet the setbacks and height standards and then permitted. So that is another recourse. Just
That would be
for
a
everyone.
separate application process? 'Cause
Yes, so go through a building permit, we would check the development standards, the height and the setback of the proposed structure, and then it could be built as was approved by city staff.
I have a question really quick. Is there any regulations on, like, the RV being over there? Because if there wasn't a structure, the RV is the same size as the structure. So, I mean, shading backyards and things like that and looking at it, I mean, is there codes for that too? On having an RV, I mean, if they don't like looking at the RV, is that a problem too? Is that something we're gonna, I don't know, that's what I'm asking, I don't know.
I don't know that question, answer to that question.
I don't know the code about that, but as long as no one's living in it as a home. and
They
it's a
still have
temporary-
setbacks from the side yard fence
Yeah,
and from the building.
but it sounds like based on the
Yeah.
size of your RV, you could get it in there meeting
The
the
code-
setbacks.
It's a good question. The code deals with structures, not necessarily vehicles. And so, yeah, it really wouldn't address just the vehicle sitting there itself.
We'll hear a motion.
I want to express a couple of things. I know that we have some RV structures in the community, some that were permitted and some that were not. And it's too bad those who were not permitted are there. We have the code for a reason, and what's that thing about ignorance of the law is no excuse? If you don't look up what you need to comply with, that's bad. And I look at this structure, as the wife of a firefighter, it just scares me that a fire could start and the department would not have access. And if we let this stay, we could be liable to some degree. And the aesthetics of it are not attractive. It's not a necessary structure. You know, if somebody wants to put in an RV side area, a swimming pool, everything else, maybe buying more land initially is an option rather than trying to put a lot on a little city parcel. We do have RV storage in the community and neighboring communities. An RV doesn't have to be kept right next to the house. I also, as far as hail, I had a vehicle once that was hailed on because it was it was before I purchased it, but it was in a brand-new car lot. They couldn't get it in the structure, and it was hailed on, totally damaged. And I'm thinking of hail falling on that cover, bouncing off to the neighbor's windows, possibly breaking a window. I don't know, maybe I see too many movies or something, but it just scares me that there are unsafe characteristics associated with this structure. And It is in violation of the code. I don't find it necessary, as far as finding necessary or desirable. Yeah, I think there was only one of the findings that I didn't put a check mark next to as being valid, but I don't think we should pass this variance and conditional use permit.
I'd like to make a comment also. I commend the applicant on coming in here. Unfortunately, there are many within our community that don't seek guidance from the city to find out if it's permitted or not to do something on their property. And unfortunately, our community is based on a complaint-only basis. And we have two neighbors here that didn't really want to speak out against a fellow neighbor because it contributes to animosity within the community. And, as a whole in our nation, there's already too much discourse going on between two people. So I would like to ask staff if maybe we can ask the council to reconsider non-compliant issues not being based on a complaint basis, or, if city workers are out driving around and they see, a structure that wasn't permitted, that we do something. In my neighborhood, I know somebody put a structure up, I didn't know if it was approved or not, and weeks later, it was gone. So I don't know what happened there, but I would rather not pit neighbor against neighbor. Sometimes most people don't like the city anyway, so you're already the bad guy, so you might as well keep it that way. I mean, I wish you would have, before you bought the house and all that, is check to see if you could put a structure up. I really apologize that, you're doing the right thing coming in here, and you may not get what you're looking for, it's.
One more question. If the trailer's there, though, is it gonna be a problem still?
Our friends that live there. The trailer for us is that it comes and goes. It's not always there. Always there. We're always walking out. Our neighborhood has trailers everywhere. Not even supposed to be. Yeah, the trailer.
Actually, if you have a conversation, it should be up here directed to us. I'm sorry, though. But, yeah, but that's a good question. Any other comments? Motions?
Make a motion. I'm not exactly sure how this goes. It'll be my second one. I want a motion to reject application 23-784, as it does not meet the code requirements or the requirements of the city for variance. And recommend that if the structure is wanted, that it goes through the proper process and meets the setbacks required by the city.
Anybody have a second?
I'll second it.
Go for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried 4-0. Thank you. Now this is closed. I was kind of disappointed that the fire department had no
They never do it.
comment at all. That was, to me,
Building had a lot of comments associated
yeah,
with fire,
but I would have thought, just access could have been an issue, especially if the fifth wheel's sitting in there, how do you get in the backyard?
If the fifth wheel's sitting there when if there was nothing there, is it the same thing, or is that, I mean, if the fifth wheel's on the side, they're not getting back there anyway. I'm just asking.
Well, I mean, I was just concerned that the fire department didn't address any of this. That there was, they have no issues.
Because maybe it's metal, or is that?
No,
It melts.
a lot of other.
Knock on wood,
agencies
we don't want any fires in
participate.
our community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it sent to the fire? I guess,
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
police
there
department?
was no comment on
And no
that.
comments from both? Okay.
Okay. Here, I'll give you the gavel back.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Canceleros, for covering for me. Next, we go on to administrative matters.
None today?
Do we need to address the appeal process?
We'll send them a letter that has the
Okay.
information in it.
Okay. Sorry.
So good. Okay. Any matters presented from the audience? At this time, the public may address the Planning Commission on any non-agendized item that is within the authority of the commission. The speaker is limited to a maximum of 5 minutes. Unused time may not be yielded to another speaker. The determination of whether an item is within the authority of the commission is a discretionary decision made by the commission chair. Anybody online?
I do not see
Okay.
anyone online.
Okay. With that, staff communications.
I just wanted to let the commission know that we are going to have our Tuesday, September 12th meeting, 6:30.
No further comments from me?
Housing element? Update on that? Housing element? Surveys are out.
Okay.
The city's undertaking the housing element sixth cycle update. We've got a website on the city, a webpage on the city's website. It's got some surveys on it about desires for housing in the community. You'll probably see it posted on Facebook. We encourage everyone to follow the link, take the survey, and then you'll see upcoming information about workshops and draft review and things like that. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Communications.
None today.
None today, okay.
Welcome, Jalen.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dunbar.
Well, that was,
I'm down here.
Oh, sorry, Van Dyke. Boy, I am messing up today.
Looking that way.
I was like,
No, not so much.
nothing from me. No.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Castellanos?
I have one, and this is an observation. Driving down First Street, heading towards El Portal, the first stop sign, you can't really see the stop sign until you almost get to it.
Trees?
It's a tree, it
Trees?
needs to be trimmed.
No, First Street by El Portal.
El
What
Portal.
street is that? Oklahoma?
I don't know if it's
before Oklahoma, I think.
It's Oklahoma or James, I don't know what.
Okay.
James.
El Portal, trees. We'll let Public Works know.
Yeah, I was trying to look at my map, but it didn't show me the street, yeah.
I don't remember.
I wanted to mention at the last meeting, and I forgot that. And I noticed that Orlando's is getting really close.
And McDonald's is under construction.
Hopefully there'll be, and I saw the dirt moving at McDonald's too. That's all I have.
Just a couple things for me. what's going on over at Swenson Park? Now I see signs saying, use with caution, and then on the way over here, because of irrigation issues, there's caution tape like in the middle of the park and like a, an A-frame little construction that says, caution, use at your own risk. And there were soccer players out there playing in the middle of it today, so that would be a liability if the sign's out there, and you know there's a problem.
They've always had sprinkler issues out there. I mean, it's always been soggy, so maybe that's it.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any issues out there. We will check in with Public Works staff to figure out what is happening.
And then, thank you. And then the other thing, so I did watch the happenings here, and Commissioner Cancelaris, you brought up a very good point about code enforcement. And I was thinking the same thing is, we have why do we have a code if it's not being enforced? Because I think of the exact same size of structure that's literally on the other block from me that didn't come to us for any approvals. It's right up next to a fence. There's trees behind it, so the neighbors behind it don't see it as much, but it's troubling that that's the only way that it can come forward, and I'm wondering if there's something we can do about that, or the commission, or the council can do about that. Because it really put these families in a tough spot, and we looked, we've got a trailer, the way our lot sits, it's kind of just, the next house over from them around the cul-de-sac, and they have a trailer there. And we were in our backyard. We can barely see the front of that unit from our backyard through the trees and everything. But I was talking to my wife, and we said, well, what if the people behind us that have a trailer there put up a structure like that? Because the trailer doesn't bother us. And we both said, yeah, that probably we wouldn't like that. But would we not like it enough to say something and have that animosity that you're going to be with living with them until you move,
Or somebody moves.
yeah. So that it's really not a good situation, unfortunately.
Yeah, understanding the comments about code enforcement, appreciate those. We will work with the city manager and up and through the council as appropriate to evaluate this issue. I know it's something that we are looking into. Like many things, it's a resource issue, right? We would all love to do any number of things, and right now we are not staffed in a way that has proactive code enforcement. Many communities are not. Communities across, the state and the valley are staffed differently. We have a police department here, and other cities of our size do not. And so it's a staffing resource issue. So we will share it up, these comments, with the city manager and again, up through the city council as appropriate. Not promising we will directly share it with the city council, but certainly write these into the minutes and the message will get out. But it is something we're looking into in perhaps other ways that we can do a little bit more code enforcement.
Well, I would, this is a question, I would think any employee, the city, as they're driving through the neighborhood, that they see an issue. And we're still, I'm not gonna say it, we're still recording.
Yeah, I think observation of issues and enforcement of issues is different. The observation is, and you're absolutely correct, is the easier part. We do have staff. We have police staff. We have public works staff. We have other staff who are driving around the city every day. And they can observe infractions of the code. The hard part with code enforcement is the logistical part of it, the administrative part of it, the follow-up. And that does take a considerable amount of staff time. I don't want to minimize it. It may sound easy. It's not. And you can imagine, working with people, let's call it educating, our residents who are doing something that they should not have, it's not an easy process. You don't just ask politely one time and it always happens, right? So the follow-up, the administration is the difficult part. And so that's what you would really need a staff member or two for. And that's currently what we do not have right now.
Well,
But
if
there's
this
other.
gentleman did not come in front of us tonight, no one complained, that would have been there. And there are, in my neighborhood, there are several
Yeah.
of these going on, and no neighbor wants to be a bad neighbor to complain about it. So and, you know, thank God gas keeps going up, you know, there'll be less RVs people. I mean, when COVID happened, I mean, there was an explosion of people buying RVs and stuff. And all these, you know, mega, you know, covers were going up.
If I could comment on that, if they had gone through the process to approve this structure before,
Yeah.
and there would have been an opportunity where, you know, they could have written a letter, or they could have,
Yeah.
you know, responded. I think if we turn into the city that sends all the people out to look for all of these things, I think that's not the goal. It's good that he came in, it's just difficult that he came late. I think there's a process for it.
Yeah. No,
He
I-
can still submit a different structure. It may not be, you know, it may still not go, but at least they'll have that opportunity. Is it too late for me to make a comment? Because I wanted to make sure somebody
Yeah, you can.
else. Okay,
Go for it.
sorry, going back to me.
She's the chairperson.
As we were talking, I really want to really bring up the importance of, you know, and especially in structures and plan reviews, that our fire and our police department participate. It's unfortunate that fire wasn't here to speak on the
They never-
danger of that
They
structure.
never
Not-
respond.
Yeah, they can send an email,
But they
and look
don't.
at it. And I don't know, maybe they are understaffed as well, but, they should care about that part, and not say that they don't necessarily. They may not have the time, but maybe we need to make the time.
I think I did. I was, if I'm all right, since you're forcing my mouth, you're forcing my mouth. Married to a firefighter's daughter, she had the exact same reaction you did. There was absolutely no way that 8 inches, even with a firewall of some sort, if you've got petroleum products involved in fifth wheels, which you do, plastics, polymers, et cetera, if that burns, it burns fast, it burns hot. And that's a danger, not only to the resident, but it's even a greater danger to the house that's nearest to it, which was the neighbor's house, whether he is in favor of the wall being there or not.
You said this 45 minutes.
I could have, but you know what? Everybody was doing such a great job. You know, the points were all being made. All of my points were made on this particular one. I will concur that fire should have. I was astounded that fire had no response on this. They should have.
I don't think I've ever seen them respond on any.
But they should have,
Yeah.
because we rely on their input, all the city departments, we rely on their input. So those were my thoughts. The fact that it did not comply with city codes, but also didn't comply with state codes, weighed heavily on me. It's one thing to grant a variance on our own, but when you're also in violation of state codes, why? Why would you? So I was just happy to get the vote done, and see, you opened up Pandora's mouth.
Okay, and with that, we'll close the meeting at 7:37.
Steve, are you referring to that home on Riesling that had already covered and all of
I'll get your name
Yeah.
next. Sorry.